for an hour and a half, which is to glower or smile like a used car salesman. Mitt Romney is nothing more, and in some sense, this is his greatest talent, than a pitchman, a carny barker. He's a guy who can sell anybody anything, and particularly when the product is Mitt Romney, since it comes in any shape and any package. He's had 7 years, count them, 7 years of doing nothing else. When the man says he's a businessman, his last 7 years have been running for the presidency. That's his only job. And so if he's not good at it by now, then he'll never be good at anything. And that is what he's learned how to do.
I'm just going to jump in, David, I'm just going to jump in for a second for people who are just joining us. You're listening to David Bender. He's a political strategist and the political director of Progressive Voices, which is launching tonight, am I right?
It's going to be launching formally on November 5th. We're doing a soft launch, but you can go to progressivevoices.com right now and find out more about the launch.
Yeah, and it's through TuneIn Radio, which has some 40 million people on that platform. And David's been around the political climate for many, many years. A couple of lifetimes for some, if they were, well, for some, like my Chihuahua, which has a lifespan of 10, 12 years. But David, one of the things that I noted today, front page New York Times, to your point, it says jogger pauses, a runner pauses, and it's a color picture of Mitt Romney dressed up in a suburban jogging suit, because everyone knows jogging on the beach, you put on a big, thick polyester Nike jogging suit. I know I do that. It is such a staged and planned event. And that the New York Times, the official voice of the United States of America and its government, chooses a color picture of Romney on the day of the debate, standing on the beach in a jogging suit. The angle of the photo is looking up, making him very visionary and leader-like in a jogging suit. That is incredible propaganda.
Yes, it is, and it's not new. This is not a new phenomenon. We had photos of Richard Nixon walking on the beach at San Clemente, and he wore a blue suit. Not a jogging suit, a suit, because everyone goes for a walk on the beach in a suit.
Yeah, but he did it. He wore wingtips in the sand, remember?
Yeah, I do. I do, because, and how you do it, since it happened at least 20 years before you were born, I can't imagine. But all of that is to say that, theatrics in politics isn't a new phenomenon. The guy who sold Richard Nixon to the American people is a great book called The Selling of the President by Joe McGinnis. And it is the story of how a failed candidate, a guy who lost the presidency and the governor of California, was reinvented, sort of like Coca-Cola. There was something called, in 1968, the new Nixon. And there is nothing more similar to me than in this campaign than the way Romney is running to the way Nixon ran in 68. He ran as someone who apparently never had held public office before. All of that anger, all of that bitterness of you don't have Nixon to kick around anymore, it was gone. The new Nixon was packaged and presented to the American people as, get this, a man of peace. He had, in his own words, he planned to end the war in Vietnam, which was tearing the country apart. What was it? Well, he couldn't tell you. It was secret. He would tell you if you elected him. Now, who does that sound like to you, Terry Harrison? Who does that sound like to you? We have a man who's saying he has a plan to save the economy, create 12 million jobs. What is it? He can't tell you.
That's Willard. Willard Mitt Romney, right there in a nutshell.
And Nixon redone.
Yeah.
They are the same guy.
And look at Paul Ryan just the other night when he was standing with Joe, right? And Joe, I thought, was, because I do the same thing. When I hear inordinate amounts of bullshit, I guffaw and howl myself. I can't not smile when I know it's complete and utter nonsense. But the performance notwithstanding, he was asked directly several times, including by the Candy Crowley herself, what exactly do you mean, how much, what does it weigh, and how big is it? And we got that circumlocution over and over again. Once we're elected, we'll reveal the mighty plan. Now, if that doesn't frighten somebody, it's like going to a doctor and saying, what's my treatment? And he says, well, I'll tell you what, what? Hand me some cash, and I'll let you know then. After you've metastasized. This is a problem.
People do that all the time, though. The problem is people do that all the time because they want to believe that there is a miracle cure. This is why, when I say he's a carny barker, he's actually like the guy who would sell those, ailments off the back of a wagon 150 years ago. I can cure the elixir, the magic elixir, just $1 from someone in the crowd. And all they have to do is believe. And that's what Romney is making people do. You have a president who is telling sometimes painful truths to the American people. It's what Jimmy Carter did. He said, we have an energy crisis. He was absolutely right. And they said, we don't want to hear bad news. And they elected Ronald Reagan, who told them nothing but good news for 8 years while he trashed the country.
Yeah.
Now, who's at fault there?
Is that a rhetorical question, or do you want me to honestly answer it?
Yeah, no, answer, please, because I think we both agree. It's the electorate. It's the people who buy this elixir. It's the people who take the sales pitch, having seen it fail time and time again, and who do not believe in themselves enough to actually stand up and try and bring the change that, as you rightly pointed out, Obama said, yes, we can, not yes, I can.
And we're gonna have to depart in just 1 minute, David. But you and I agree on so much of this stuff because it's straight in front of us. It's not that complicated. And I think also we really do need to point reasonably fingers at the large commercial and corporate megaphone where you don't have a Walter Cronkite. You don't have somebody to bust a candidate afterwards and say that was a terminological inexactitude, as Winston Churchill would have called it, a bald-faced lie, a prevarication, bullshit. We don't have that. We have, and now a car commercial. Or don't miss tonight's episode of This is Horrifying. These people are supposed to be the gatekeepers of the truth. And when Mildred, and we both love Mildred, or Fanny.
We do.
Fanny does her job. She actually reads the local paper. She watches the TV news. She shows up 100% for all the information and gobbles 100% of what's given her. No wonder she's dying of news malnutrition. And so we can't, rightly, we don't want to necessarily blame her for being just an extraordinary, haphazard, it's not necessarily her fault. She's actually done her due diligence, not knowing that she actually cannot eat this genetically modified crap known as news and thinks she's not going to grow an extra ear.
A democracy cannot exist without a free press that does its job, and this press is neither free nor doing its job. And so, fundamentally, every structure, every institution of government lacks credibility, including the media, and they deserve to. And that's where we're at. And the one thing I want to say before we go about tonight is Bob Schieffer, who is moderating tonight's debate, comes from the Walter Cronkite School. He worked with Walter Cronkite. He comes from that. Mm-hmm. He is one of the last through lines to that great era when you actually trusted the people to give you news on that machine. Let's see what he does tonight. He's no Jim Lehrer. He's a guy who will not. He does this week in and week out on Face the Nation. And I think he's going to hold them both accountable. But Mitt Romney's not good at being held accountable. And let's see what happens.
I think you're right. David Bender, thank you so much for joining us, as always, here on Go Harrison. Thank you also for captaining Progressive Voices, progressivevoices.com, your website, progressivevoices.com, where people can check in and find out about the launch of your global new way of getting this critical information out. And we'll look forward to your continued hard work and heavy lifting to save all the Mildreds from coast to coast and continent to incontinent.
Go Mildred and go Harrison.
All right. Thank you so much, David Bender. Have a great day, my friend.
Thank you. Much love.
GoHarrison.com.
All right, we now have with us Roseanne Barr, whom you know is running for President of the United States for the Peace and Freedom Party. Coming up after our chat with Roseanne, we're going to be talking to Kevin Gosztola, and we'll open up the phone lines at 888-874-4888, 888-874-4888. Those are your live Harrison hotlines. We're also streaming live video right now at GoHarrison.com, GoHarrison.com, and Kevin is going to talk to us more about foreign policy and Obama and Romney, and why they're not talking about it. And what does that mean when the bombs start flying before the 4th of July? And will they actually fly? We're going to get to that. But right now, let's enjoy a woman running for president, a name you well know, who's visiting with us right now. And if all technical stuff works well, I believe we have Roseanne Barr. Harrison with you, and every now and then the founding daddies give birth to yet another great thinker, another person willing to do the heavy lifting, step out, put themselves at certain peril and risk, open themselves up to possible criticism, and of course huge audiences of celebrants who are thrilled that somebody's actually standing up for the residents here of Earth. And I'm speaking, of course, of Roseanne Barr, who's running for president, the California-based Peace and Freedom Party. And Roseanne Barr, I want to welcome you to Go Harrison, and thank you, by the way, for stepping up to the plate on behalf of the mammals that reside here.
Well, Harrison, it's great to be with you. I enjoy your show. You're a highly intelligent human.
Well, and coming from you, those are lofty words. So let me throw a
I don't give them freely, and I don't give them often.
All right. Well, I thank you. That's a great compliment. And let me throw one back at you. Running for president is not easy. Talk about exposing yourself.
It's completely insane. The more I learn, the more I go on my journey, which I'm documenting just for history, because the American people really should know. It's unbelievable. I knew it sucked, right, Harrison? But I didn't know it sucked to this extent of insanity.
Yeah, I'm guessing that one of the things that you've learned is not only were you always interested in the issues, always very capably able to defend them and analyze them and reverse engineer them, but when you end up at the level you're at now, you actually see much deeper into it, and it's a little scarier than a lot of us thought, isn't it?
It is really scary, but what's happening is that people who are intelligent are finding each other. And, well, I should go a level above that, too. Intelligent people are finding each other, but intelligent and moral people who have an eye to the survival of this planet and all species on it are also gathering. So that's pretty cool. So it's like, the more we can see how corrupt and, as I say, people say this system is broken. It is most definitely not broken. It's fixed.
It's fixed
rigged. As in rigged.
The way you fix a dog by breaking it.
Yeah, it's impossible for representational government of the people, by the people, and for the people to exist. So in order that it does not perish from the earth, there are people who are gathering and figuring out what we can do to pretty much save our country during this election, because many of these people that I speak with, myself included sometimes, we don't think that there will be another election in 2016 in the United States of America. We think this is the final one. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. Admittedly, I'm very... I'm like a forensic person. I only go by data. In fact, I don't go by belief. I don't go by hope or faith or anything that isn't real. I only go by data and fact.
Yeah, as we look at the going back to Diebold in the year 2000, going back to the Supreme Court ruling that democracy is a bad thing when it comes to Bush versus Gore. We'll make the decision for you so that you voting citizens don't have to break a sweat. We'll handle it, et cetera, et cetera. This was just the beginning, and we're now at a place.
Well, that's an interesting way to see it, but there's another way to see it too. In that, it's just about getting power from the many and putting it into the hands of the few. That's what's really going on. Power and money is being moved upward in the greatest redistribution of wealth ever to happen on the face of the earth since there's been civilization. But that's funny because the way they did it was by fear-mongering and telling people at the bottom and in the middle that they should not support the redistribution of wealth downward. Instead, they should support the redistribution of wealth upward, and they used a specific mind control method to pull that over, to fool the American people, to hoodwink and bamboozle the American people so that they would support a neocon agenda. And, the neocon agenda, when you look at it dispassionately, seems to end in a big Armageddon in Iran.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And just hearing the word neocon brings back horrifying images of Swingin' Dick Cheney and Donnie Rumsfeld and all the rest.
Swingin' Dick Cheney. Yeah.
We're talking to Roseanne Barr. She's running for president 2012. Peace and Freedom Party, which is something that is critical to the survival of humankind, also has been very adept and very vocal for many, many years, putting up the good fight, and is now addressing all the key power players at the very top level to try to at least slow down the machine. It sounds like, Roseanne, it doesn't feel as though there's huge traction that can be taken, but if at least we can, bung a spanner into the cogs, we can buy some more time.
Well, this is the way I look at all that. That would be one. That is one way of looking at it. I appreciate what you said. I take that in. I hear you. But I think that the people at the top are also afraid because they're fresh out of ideas. Obviously, I don't know if they ever had them, besides how to con people or trick them out of their money. But when it comes to sustainable ideas that actually are resource-based, that go to, the survival of humanity and all species and the earth itself, they're fresh out of ideas there. They just, throw bombs at it. So, it's also time for me, a woman. I love saying that because that blows America's mind, that there's any kind of difference between a woman and a man. But you know what? There is, and there's a lot of difference in our brains, too. Women's brains, according to science and fact, not religion and emotion and prejudice and superstition, but science and fact indicate that women actually are multitaskers and can think things through in a very cyclical and circular manner, which is exactly what we need on the earth right now. And why I'm running, because we need solutions. First of all, how we arrive at solutions is by recognizing that everything is one thing, and there's only one everything, and we have to solve problems instead of blowing parts of them up.
Yeah,
and we have to do it peacefully. That's why I like the Peace and Freedom Party. We have to do it without war, and here are some of my ideas. Number one, of course, I will make war illegal.
I like that.
And legalize marijuana.
For warring?
Yes, and any warmongering at all will be punishable by imprisonment. I will legalize pot. I will end the drug wars, because here's what's really going on with the drug wars. It's for the profit of drug lords in Mexico and on the border. It's for the profit of the United States, kind of a criminal class of drug lords, and the same in Mexico. And the American taxpayer is footing the bill for all of it. And you know what? It's not very smart. What would be smarter, I think, is to ask Mexico to become our 51st state and increase, our oil, for one thing. That'd be far cheaper and smarter than what we're doing now with this drug war. That really, though, here's what it's about. The drug war. Well, here's what I say. This is the way I see the whole two-party system. I say that it is, I am not running to take votes away from Obama. I am running to, try to establish a third party for the American people so that they have the right to vote for a party not owned by bankers. Because that would indicate freedom and not debt slavery.
So
peace, and the way to do that is I'm just going to finish this one.
Sure.
But of course, we have to make war illegal, because that will also make slavery illegal. Because the reason that most wars are waged is to hold laborers, and so they will do free labor. And that is, in fact, what we're doing all over the world, and in particular here at home. The scary thing is that 90% of all the house paint manufactured in America is manufactured by prison labor at about 22 cents an hour. Now, how they're doing that is they're arresting young people, working class, and middle class kids too, in the prime of their strength, which is about the same time you'd smoke a joint. Now, what they do is they go in and they put their boot on your neck by arresting your kids, putting them in prison. Then they get this, not only the kickback for the prison military industrial complex, which is really what I say, I'm taking votes away from not Obama, but from the prison, from the duopolistic fundraising arm of the prison military industrial complex, because that's what's really going on. So they put these kids in prison, and they get like some good labor out of them, and they get the kickback for putting them in privatized prisons, also subsidized by American taxpayers. And, so the judges and everybody who puts them in, they're getting a kickback, because after they deregulated all of their markets and stuff, they just made talk about predatory lending, they made that the rule of the day. Predatory anything. By whatever means necessary. Race to the bottom. Prison labor. And that's what the Americans, that's why they keep pot illegal, because not only do they lock up your kids for their labor, but then they can take your home, too. They can take your home, and it's all tied up into one big Ponzi scam. And the American people should have the right to know that and to vote away from both of those parties.
We see examples of that in Arizona, famously Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who loves to arrest anybody and anything with two legs. He also has financial concerns in the way the prisons are operated, the clothing that's distributed, the food that's eaten. It's sort of like Mayor Daley of Chicago 20, 30 years ago. And this is now...
It's sort of, yeah.
Yeah, This is now the new normal from top to bottom, where, as you point out so rightly, Roseanne Barr, it is the largest upfunneling of wealth from bottom to top in human history. Never before.
It's a heist.
Yeah, it's a heist, isn't it? It's a looting, a bank robbery without the mask, doing it right.
Yeah, and then saying this. Now and not only is it a bank robbery, but it's subsidized with workers' forced taxes. Man, if that ain't slavery, what is?
So we're at a place now in our American and human timeline where every single country on the globe, and the United States military is dotted in some 900 bases all the way around the circumference of this planet. So we have a total empire grip. We have Europe melting right under our eyes, the United States. The rich get richer, and the poor have children.
Well, it's not just that. You are right, though. And it's not just that. It's also that there is a predatory class, and they are in charge of the food supply. And I'm serious. They're also in charge of the water, and they're in charge of the planet. Predators. Who, like I say in my speech, these people who talk nonstop about their God, who is money, are very, very devout, and they are fundamentalist free markets. And what that means is slavery. They have no compunction whatsoever, no moral compunction whatsoever of profiting from slavery. But a new world is coming, and that's why I'm running also, Harrison, is a new world where everybody is civilized, and they get together, and the whole fulcrum of my platform is that everybody would sign this pledge that, no leader deserves to lead anyone on this planet that profits in any way from slavery.
Wow, I really like the deliciousness of that particularly cool drink on a steaming hot day around the world as climate change.
Because we could do it. We could do it easily. And people who enrich themselves on keeping human problems going, they need to be arrested and tried in a court of law, not heavily weighted in their favor.
Amen to Roseanne Barr. That was Roseanne Barr also running for president, as you know, at the Freedom and Peace Party, or Peace and Freedom Party. And that's coming up November 6th. She's on the ballot in California, a bona fide, legitimate candidate, much as all the others are, but one that is mostly unmentioned and somehow has become radically invisible, given the fact that she has hundreds of millions of dollars, has quite the capability of putting her brand out there, but she speaks speaks about the items, topics, that massive elephant in the middle of the room called unemployment, all the rest of it, and so therefore that elephant must be dismissed and put away, much as Roseanne. So just want to bring her to you. Right now we've got a little news with Disney Fit, right? Yes, we do. But we're gonna pause for a break first, and then we're gonna be talking to Kevin Gosztola. He's a journalist for FireDogLake.com, and he's gonna be talking about President Obama's foreign policy, along with Willard Romney's foreign policy, and how conspicuously missing from the public dialogue is foreign policy. It's only everything. It's only why you even had a bin Laden. But why talk about it? Because America's Next Great Dancer is coming up on ABC. How about a break? Huh?
Lock it in. Coming up, more Harrison on The Smart Show.
So this promo has to be 30 seconds?
I think it's a minute.
30 seconds.
What are we supposed to say?
I think 30 seconds would work better, because how else are you going to get that much funny into more than 30 seconds?
Hi, what are we doing?
Well, now it's down to 30 seconds.
It's got to be at least, but this is a generic promo. This is basically what we do for, the time that we're allotted.
Can someone please tell me what we're doing, though, in the first place?
The Iggy and Sean Show.
Oh, we're doing a promo?
Yeah.
Why didn't you guys tell me?
Well,
I'm never included in anything. Not the name, title, I don't even know about this.
It's just a promo.
Fine. Well, what are we promoting exactly? Because I don't even know.
The Iggy and Sean Show.
Oh, yeah, right, that. Okay, cool.
Us.
When is that on?
Sundays, right? Is that
Sundays.
Sundays. At 11:30.
Is that what this promo's for?
Yes, the Iggy and Sean Show.
11:30 a.m.
To when?
1. Is this a 30-second promo?
We only have 3 seconds left. It's just enough time to say, on the Progressive Radio Network.
Oh.
I was promised punch and pie.
I'll punch you.
At last, an alternative to the ravings of right-wing radio. The Burt Cohen Show digs down to give you the hidden truths behind the stories that affect us all. I'm Burt Cohen, and I make full use of over 40 years of experience as an anti-war activist, political columnist, and 7 terms as state senator in conservative New Hampshire to uncover the real stories behind today's headlines. Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time at prn.fm. If you miss a show, you can check it out on the archives. And if you like the show, rate us on iTunes. The Progressive Radio Network is moving forward, and we hope you're coming with us.
Hello, this is Richard Martin to remind you that I'll be looking out for you on Mondays and Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time to give you the latest from the financial world and to let you know just how bad things are getting. I'll be telling you things you'll never get to hear in the mainstream media. So join me here on the Wake Up Call. You can listen to the show at any time from the archives, and if you like the show, rate us on iTunes. The Progressive Radio Network is moving forward, and we hope you're coming with us.
With an ever-growing deficit, the nation is in deep, deep shit. But a modest proposal can give us a lift, and it's far more effective than Jonathan Sweat.
ExxonMobil
is enjoying record profits of 10.
Sell the... Please, get a grip. All right, speaking of grip, I'm going to grip it right here.
Go Harrison. News update.
It's 40 minutes past the hour. From BradBlog.com, I'm Desi Doyen with your reality check. Former Senator and 1972 Democratic presidential candidate George McGovern has died at 90. McGovern, a decorated World War II veteran, congressman, and senator from South Dakota, campaigned against the Vietnam War as the Democratic candidate for president in 1972, but he lost to Republican Richard Nixon in a landslide. Nixon would later resign from office in disgrace in the Watergate scandal, whereas McGovern championed the causes of ending hunger and poverty throughout his long career and later became the United Nations' first global ambassador on world hunger. Another icon of the 1970s, Native American Indian activist, author, and actor Russell Means also died on Sunday. As the leader of the American Indian movement, Russell Means helped lead the 1973 uprising at Wounded Knee, a 71-day armed standoff with federal officials in protest of the U.S. government's treatment of Native Americans and the government's failure to honor its treaties with Native American Indian tribes. Russell Means was 72. It's 42 minutes past the hour. An Italian court today sentenced 7 scientists to 6 years in prison each for manslaughter, saying the scientists failed to adequately warn citizens before a deadly earthquake struck the ancient city of L'Aquila in central Italy in 2009 that killed more than 300 people. The convicted scientists, some of Italy's most prominent seismologists, are members of the country's Grand Commission on High Risks. Scientists criticized the trial around the world as unjust, saying no reliable way exists yet to predict earthquakes. India is on the verge of declaring a 10-year moratorium on genetically modified food crops. A panel of technical experts appointed by India's Supreme Court have recommended an immediate 10-year moratorium on field trials of all genetically modified food crops, pending further studies on long-term impacts on human health, as evidence mounts linking GMO crops to the rise in pesticide-resistant superbugs. In California, voters will decide whether to require processed food manufacturers to add GMO information to their product labels. Manufacturers have mounted a multi-million-dollar ad campaign to defeat the statewide ballot initiative requiring labeling of GMOs.
I'm sorry, that was just an editorial thought.
Thank you. Finally, at least 5 people have caught fire after using flammable sunscreen. Popular drugstore sunscreen maker Banana Boat announced a recall of 23 Banana Boat spray sunscreen products that have been sold since January 2010. They warned, quote, if a customer comes into contact with a flame or spark prior to the complete drying of the product on the skin, there is a potential for the product to ignite. The company says it's received reports of 4 burn injuries in the U.S. and 1 in Canada.
Right.
Go Harrison News Time is 44 now minutes past the hour. For Go Harrison News, I'm Desi Doyen of the Green News Report at bradblog.com. You can follow me online at greennews.bradblog.com and on Twitter at Green News Report. And this has been your Reality Check.
News update. Harrison.
And it is 43 minutes past the hour. Harrison with you, your new best friend. Welcome, welcome. We are live video streaming, by the way, at goharrison.com, goharrison.com, where you can join us anytime, anywhere. I want to bring to you Kevin Gosztola, and Kevin is with firedoglake.com, and he's a journalist. He's a journalist who recently wrote a piece, Obama's pathetic answer to Jon Stewart's question on continuation of Bush's security policy. And he talks about how Obama claimed that he set out to put legal structures in place to rein in the presidency, while at the same time letting loose the presidency to gnaw and bark and chew on your pant leg. And without me speculating further, let's actually hear the live, breathing, pulsating voice of Kevin Gosztola, and welcome to Go Harrison. Kevin. All right.
Yeah.
There we are. How are you, my friend? Kevin.
I'm doing well. I can hear you.
Great, great. So let's talk for a little bit about your take. You've written in firedoglake.com at length about the notion that the Constitution is really something, while Obama says he would love to be reined in from doing bad things with the Constitution, it is his choice and will to undo the Constitution simultaneously, right?
Right, exactly. His answer to Jon Stewart was this answer that I sort of thought might be something you'd offer up if you were having drinks at a bar at like 11:30 at night with your friends and you just were trying to solve the world's problems maybe. And he thought, why don't we just have a new legal structure? Sounds like he's going to maybe implement this if he got reelected, was what he was putting forward. But I thought, well, don't we already have something like this? We call it the Constitution of the United States.
Now, Kevin, you do not sound like a withered old geezer. As we look at your image on goharrison.com on the video stream, you look like you're about 23 years old. you sound very young, and yet you have this pithy perspective. That's two P's in a row. Am I about right there?
Yeah.
And short, curt sentences. How did you get this interest in actually observing and understanding the Constitution at an age when a skateboard might also be a good fit?
I guess, I live in a society just like 45-year-old middle-aged people do, and just as the crusty old white men that run our Congress do as well, and have to worry about making a living and surviving just like anybody. And I've taken an interest in the different national security policies. So when Obama says these sort of things, I naturally have a reaction.
Well, it's interesting because I've always felt that anybody in his 20s and early 30s, you're stuck on this orb for at least 50, 60, 70 more years. You have real skin in the game. Melting icebergs, inhospitable air and water, just a river of shit coming downhill, Newton's theory being right, gravity does work, and all of that is being poured by the people at the top, and you're the recipient at the bottom. Now, the older folks, 50 plus, they can move to Maine if it gets too hot. They can go to New Zealand or wherever they fantasize they're going to be safe. And as of today, Kevin, we're learning that radiation levels in Santa Monica, California, right here on the Pacific Coast in Los Angeles have almost doubled in a year because the radiation plume from Fukushima is hitting shore. What's on the news? America's Got Talent. So you get to navigate 30 more years, and you have to try to motivate some help from the crusty white men at the top and then your peers who are standing next to you. To what degree do your peers get what you get?
I have to confess I'm a bit cynical. But at the same time, I think that the experiences put you in a situation. Most Americans, when they're put in adverse situations, end up thinking, what can I do to get out of this? I believe that's when you have political action or challenging what's going on. Particularly, like this generation is saddled with all kinds of student loan debt and everything, and people can't find jobs that can give them the sort of living that the baby boomers had. So this is something that you see regularly.
I want to develop this further with you, Kevin, and we'll just finish this up in the next couple of minutes because we're going to go to sports before the end of the show. But I want to have you back because I think it's critical to hear wide-awake, younger voices who do have skin in the game, who do want to see results, who do get that it really is real. It's not, as Fox would remind us, it's whatever they remind us of. And so I really relish the fact that you've shown up for the other people. Let's just wrap up quickly. Your firedoglake.com. Some people won't have heard of that website.
No. And thank you for having me on your show so that they could hear.
That's the right thing to say. So tell us about firedoglake.com.
Oh, well, you can go to this website. This is where I write regularly, posting. I mostly write about national security and civil liberties issues. Of course, right now I've been hitting the election. I'm of the mind that it would be much better if Romney and Obama had less similarities just because it doesn't serve our country too well. So if you go there, I get a regular stream of commentary from me on these various topics.
Awesome. Well, we're going to do an audio stream of commentary from you down the road, so look forward to hearing back from me. Kevin Gosztola, I'm pronouncing that correct?
Yes.
See what happens? You go to college and you can actually pronounce names. It's a miracle. I'm so thrilled you joined us today. We will be talking down the road. I do want to build a phalanx of young voices who are out there, not to act as the routine pundits looking down from a very comfortable chair, but climbing up the chair, trying to figure out if it's made of wood or crap. And so I really appreciate your hard work and heavy lifting. And thank you for joining us today on Go Harrison.
Thank you.
All right, my friend, take care. That's Kevin Gosztola. FireDogLake.com is his website, FireDogLake.com. And now, none other than Garrett Ritt with our sports live, or not so live, from the locker room.
Harrison, it's the locker room.
Hey, what are you looking at?
Thanks, Harrison. Well, some of you likely play fantasy football out there or some other fantasy sport. Well, the athletes at Piedmont High School in Northern California have taken that a little further. They have been caught running what is being called a fantasy slut league. Yes, the fantasy slut league. According to reports, athletes on each team at the school could score points for having, quote, documented engagements in sexual activities, end quote, with other students at the school. The high school is withholding all the names of the accused, which include a number of both male and female students who are often pressured into playing along by upperclassmen in order to be accepted by teammates as kind of a ritualistic kind of deal.
Can I go at my age?
Right.
I mean, that sounds like fun.
Not bad, right?
Gives me an excuse.
A local chapter.
I'm here to mentor.
It was a pattern that reportedly lasted at least 6 or 7 years.
Yes.
At the school. Though, thanks to the administration, no winners have been announced.
Well,
what a jip.
Wrong Sandusky.
Tim Tebow is back in the news. Surprisingly, though, it's not for his actual football skills. Actually, it's because the Jets' backup quarterback is officially trademarked Tebowing, as we've all seen everywhere over the last year and a half. Now, every time you want to go to your knee and strike a pose, you're in danger of paying Tim Tebow a fee. Of course, Tebow claims the trademark has nothing to do with his financial gain, but only to, quote, control how it's used and make sure it's used in the right way, end quote. Like we're all using Tebowing in the incorrect way. So hopefully, though, this Tebowing craze will officially come to an end, and somehow, of course, Tim Tebow has figured out how to be the one that we all have to thank for that. So, Tim Tebow, our national hero once again. For the Go Harrison Show on the Progressive Radio Network, I'm Garrett Ritt, and you've just been in the locker room.
The locker room.
Hey, what are you looking at?
GoHarrison.com.
All right, honeys, we're down to the last 1 minute. Who knew that so much fun could be compressed into such a short period of time? I want to thank the Progressive Radio Network, PRN-FM. You can catch the streams, of course, on the Google Hangout, also known as YouTube. I want to thank everybody else, and thank you specifically, the Progressive, for suiting up and showing up for your own life and for that of others. Desi Doyen, who I'm turning and looking at, you're offset here. Thank you, honey, so much for the news. Thank you for letting me call you honey, and Garrett for letting me call you honey, too. And, you know, he's not grateful. All right, I will see you all next week, 6 to 7 Pacific, 3 to 4 6 to 7 Eastern, 3 to 4 Pacific. Bye, honeys.
GoHarrison.com.